The only force available to disarm Hamas through military force is the state of Israel. Since the ceasefire, Israel has been attacked twice by Hamas terrorists. 4 soldiers have been killed. So I predict that if things don't change pretty quickly, Israel's going to go back into Gaza and finish off Hamas. Until Hamas is finished off militarily and politically, there will be no peace in the Mideast.
How do you think the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is actually going to play out? Take a look at this clip over here with Senator Lindsey Graham going through what he thinks is going to be the next step in the future of this ceasefire, being that Hamas has violated it and started attacking Israeli soldiers. So we'll watch this clip together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Let's go to Israel. We've been watching since the peace deal was made and the hostages were released. You know, Hamas has been, lining people up in the street and just assassinating them, and they've been breaking the ceasefire. They're not keeping it. President Trump has warned them again and again and again. Abide by the agreement, or what happened today is going to happen. So now we hear from the King of Jordan, and he says as long as they are peacekeepers and they're not there to be security forces, he'd be on board with part of the solution.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I'm glad the hostages were released. That was a great achievement. But the idea of Hamas disarming voluntarily is a fantasy. They're religious Nazis. They're like the SS. They're built to kill Jews. They're not going to change their ways until somebody makes them. The idea that some stabilizing force made up of Arabs are going to go into Gaza and fight Hamas to disarm them is also not realistic. The only force available to disarm Hamas through military force is the state of Israel. Since the ceasefire, Israel has been attacked twice by Hamas terrorists. 4 soldiers have been killed. So I predict that if things don't change pretty quickly, Israel's going to go back into Gaza and finish off Hamas. Until Hamas is finished off militarily and politically, there will be no peace in the Mideast.
Well, look, the president gave them warning after warning. Israel was on the verge of devastating and obliterating Gaza. President Trump convinced them to stop, made the peace deal, got the release of the hostages, and now we're at a point where I don't know. If they're not disarmed, there's never going to be peace, and their charter calls for the destruction of Israel.
Yeah, their behavior on the ground since the ceasefire has been to kill their opposition, shoot people in the back.
They're killing the Palestinian people.
Yeah. And have you heard one liberal say anything about that? The only time it matters when a Palestinian is killed is when Israel has to defend itself against Hamas. But the bottom line is time up for Hamas.
All right.
They're regaining power. They're rearming. It's time to take them out. I think Israel's the only group that can do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hamas is never going to disarm themselves. They have no desire to disarm themselves. Their whole existence is to fight, to quote unquote resist. It is to destroy. They are a party. They are an organization. They are an ideology that is bent on destruction. Without destruction, they don't thrive. This is where they live. This is where their mentality is. And really, the destruction is not only Jews and not only Israel, it is the West. Because as the radical terror organizations all have in mind, Israel is the small Satan, America is the big Satan. Really, Israel is, in a certain sense, like a guardian angel to the United States, because there's enough distraction and gravity that is drawn into by Israel that it kind of delays any sort of thought process that they might have about coming to America. Obviously, America is the strongest ally, and America is considered the big Satan, but they're so occupied with the small Satan, and the small Satan is facilitating a lot of the work for the big Satan, then that's why we don't hear much about it. Remember, there is a phrase in the Middle East that after Saturday comes Sunday, meaning after we deal with the Saturday people, the Jews who celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday, we deal with Sunday people, the Christians that celebrate the Sabbath on Sunday. This is not just a Jewish problem. This is not just an Israel problem. This is the West's problem. This is civilization's problem, defending itself against the barbarism, the terrorism of this radical ideology. And in the same way that defeating the Nazis during World War II and defeating Japan during World War II was not only about the militarily destroying the capabilities of a country. It was also about changing the ideology of that country post-war. So Germany, denazification, in Japan, to eradicate the Imperial Japan viewpoint. And so now we have very good relationships with both of those countries, not because the ideologies that motivated those practices has now been disbanded. The Hamas ideology, the radical terror ideology, needs to be utterly destroyed. And the first step in that is getting Hamas to militarily be defeated, and then we can start working on the ideology and facilitating a more lasting peace than we've seen in the past. We'll be with you along the way to see how this ceasefire all plays out and what has to happen next. And if you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.